Hi everybody, welcome to Ecodriver. My name is Helmut. Today we do our fuel consumption test on the Ecodriver loop with the Subaru Outback. This car has the 2.5 liter boxer 4-cylinder. It produces 124 kilowatts, 169 horsepower. The unladen weight of the vehicle is 3,621 pounds, 1,646 kilograms, and the WLTP MPG is 38.2 MPG UK, and EPA rating is 29 MPG combined. What can I say about this vehicle? Yeah, CVT-Gearbox, which is very helpful to keep the engine revs at the correct range. And the engine only produces 169 horsepower out of 2.5 liters. But that's also good, that's helpful for us, because it means that we have quite a high torque at low revs, and in order to save fuel, the most important thing is to keep the revs down and have a high load on the engine, and for this purpose this engine is almost perfect. So if you're on this channel for the first time, then I show you the loop we're doing. We do this loop with every vehicle, and we start here. We go out of the city for the first 1 or 2 kilometers, 30 kilometers an hour limit, and then we start an ascent, 6 kilometers, 4 miles, up to around 360 meters, around 360 meters of altitude. We then, so it's 1100 feet. We then have some rolling hills, 6 kilometers, then a descent, and at the end of the descent we are around at the same altitude as we are now, so that gives us already an idea how good we are, whereabouts we will finish with the consumption at the end of this test. This is then followed by 18 kilometers of open roads, 17 kilometers of motorway, and at the end 17 kilometers of city traffic. I will talk to you at the end of every section, and then we check the overall and sectoral consumption, and at the end we analyze the whole trip. I hope you enjoy the weather and the scenery, and I'll talk to you later. Have fun. Well, we are now arriving at the end of the uphill, and when we go around this corner we have 12.8 liters per 100 kilometers. One thing with CVT gearboxes is that the accelerator pedal is very sensitive normally to the driver's foot. So if you just lift your foot a little bit, then you see that the engine revs go down, but you barely notice any change in speed. And if you have a very sensitive foot, then that allows you to drive even more efficiently, as this helps you regulating the engine revs in a much more sensitive way, if you know what I mean. We are now approaching the rolling hills, and on the hills this also helps you to regulate the engine revs. For For example, on the way up, just lift the foot a little bit and slowly reduce the speed, and don't keep the speed at all cost. And when you hit the top of the hill, then you can accelerate. It's either going down on the other side, where the car accelerates by gravity or magic, some call it, and or it flattens, and then you can accelerate with much less energy needed than if you keep the speed on the way up. Just like a roller coaster. Once the cars are on top, everything is done by gravity and kinetic energy. So we're approaching the end of the rolling hills now, and you see here 9.9 liters per 100 kilometers. I forgot to mention that this is a constant all-wheel drive, as we know all Subarus are, and this is what Subaru is loved for. On the way down, I set the fuel economy gauge, consumption gauge here, to the current consumption, so that you can see when I touch the accelerator pedal. We try to use the injection cutoff as much as possible, so no fuel is injected as long as the car is driving the engine, is keeping the engine at revs. We have two flatter sections on this descent, and depending on the other cars in front of us, normally it's possible to go over this flat section with the momentum we've built up on the steeper section before, but as I said, it depends on the cars in front of us how much momentum we can build up, how much speed we can build up. We're coming to the end of the descent now, and you have seen that it wasn't really possible to go ultra efficiently, as we had some slow cars in front of us which prevented us from using momentum and play with the gradient of the road. Anyway, we go around the corner and we see here 7.1 liters per 100 kilometers. Well, as you've seen, the GoPro that is facing the cockpit is the cockpit gauges just stopped working for a couple of minutes. There was a problem with the electricity connection. So, well, anyway, we are coming to the end of the open road, and we have 6.6 liters per 100 kilometers. We are now approaching the motorway, and as you see here, the speed limit is 100 kilometers an hour for all vehicles except electric vehicles with a dedicated electric number plate, and they are allowed to go 130. Wow, you see this? That's nice. The fog is gone and we have some sunshine and a clear view of this scenery. Yes, at the end of the motorway, 6.4 liters per 100 kilometers. Yeah, that's not too bad. Before the start of the trip, I was thinking about it and calculating a bit, and I figured out we should be around 6.5 liters per 100 kilometers at the end. You may have noticed on the motorway the engine revs were always kept at around 15, 16, 1700 RPMs at the speed at 105 kilometers an hour speed. That's very good. The size of the engine has been made very good use of. The high torque at the low revs, that's definitely a big advantage, and with the CVT transmission, the gearbox was basically just on the best possible ratio, on the highest ratio, the highest gear ratio, and so the engine revs were kept at the minimum. And as you've seen, it was enough. We had enough power, and the current consumption on the motorway was always around 6.5 liters per 100 kilometers. As you see here, with traffic lights and lots of other traffic, the traffic light in front is red. Just lift my foot off the gas and the speed is slowly coming down, and if you're lucky, we avoid coming to a complete halt. And yes, we are. Speed goes down to 8 kilometers an hour, but we avoid a complete stop. And this also saves lots of energy if you can avoid to start moving the vehicle from zero. So as possible, always keep the vehicle in motion. You have, I don't know, 1.6, 1.7 tons here, and it requires a lot of energy to start this mass moving. So we're coming to the end now of our trip with the Subaru Outback on the Ecodriver loop, and when we park the car in here we see 6.7 liters per 100 kilometers. And now let's analyze this trip. Let's have a look at the detailed consumption of the trip with the Subaru Outback. You see here the sectoral and overall consumption. If we compare this with the other petrol cars, so the efficiency is not as good as for example the Mazda CX-5, which is similar in weight and power output. It has even 19 kilowatts more power, but similar weight, similar engine size. We know that the Boxer engine isn't really the ultra most efficient motor out there, but I think the CVT-Gearbox does a good job. And you've probably seen that I kept the RPMs relatively low all the time. That this leads overall to a very good consumption, to a very good economy, and generally I have to say that this was my first Subaru that I have driven, and I was positively surprised, especially the gearbox. And this has nothing to do with the old CVT gearboxes from yesteryear where you have this rubber band effect. It really does what you want, and you can drive the car very efficiently if you consciously try to keep the revs down. And overall I have to say that's a very good efficient vehicle. If you generally like what I'm doing, feel free to subscribe to this channel, and if you hit the notification bell you won't miss any new video. That's been it for the Subaru. Thanks for watching, take care, and see you next time.